Hi, I'm Ralph Brandt, K3HQI. I'm involved in a considerable amount of MCOM and public service events. To do that, I needed an antenna structure that would at least get me 20 feet of height, be able to be set up by one person and transported, have D&E under 10 minutes, be sturdy, and be transportable in my vehicle, which is a Ford Escape. Criterion. One was non-conductive poles. Second was minimum setup tools. It would work with wire antennas and VHF verticals, as well as directional VHF antennas. I have three unmet criterion. The first is the ability to handle a rotor. I would like to be able to turn a beam on the top. The second is the ability to turn it manually from the bottom as an alternative. And the third is self-erects itself on verbal command. That has not been worked out yet. I'm looking at future mods. The first would be a rotor that is light enough but would handle an elk log periodic. I also have a couple of other ideas for the rotor. The second is a plate that can be attached to the guys. It's available and it can be used to rotate manually because it allows the pole to rotate without the guys binding. Now with that, let's watch an old guy, 76 years old, do a setup by himself in his front yard. Okay, I set up the camera. This spot once held a very, very large pine tree. Now I'm walking into the thing, picking up the antenna structure. I'm carrying the only tool that I will use to do this, a hatchet. A hammer will work just as well. I take the first stake and drive it where the base of the antenna will be. Then we put together the fiberglass poles. Actually, we've got to unwind the rope, and if someone has a solution that's better than what I have here, let me know. I've been thinking about trying something along the side with 3 pins that I can wind them over so that I don't tangle them. Notice this is one of the most lengthy parts of the procedure. When I have a lengthy part, I always look for a solution. The paracord is not exactly the best. It tends to tangle a little, but we get past that. Now, we're going to assemble the poles. If you're a little concerned about the strength of these for this distance, go to Lowe's and buy a bag of hose clamps and put one on each end of them. This is what I've done to strengthen one that I was not sure about. I'm going to put one above the guys. I can go 4.5 feet above the guy wires. Then we're going to put the other 4 together, which will give us approximately 22 feet. Now, we bring it back so that the guy wires are laying at that center post. That's very important. Then we're going to take one guy wire and go straight away from where the post is. This is important placement. One goes where those poles are pointing. Each of the guy wires has a knot tied in it, actually 2 knots, one where the stake goes and one where it gets tied off. You'll see here I'm not exactly being super efficient about it, and we're still only up at about 4 minutes. Pick up the hammer and one stake and we'll go out. Find the knot, the short knot. Make sure it's the short one. And I'll tell you about putting those together. Then you drive the stake in, but you tie it off at the long knot near the end of the cord. Now we're going to come back, grab the other two stakes and the other two cords, and we're going to do the same thing, but put in two guys literally down towards the end of the pole. Space them about 120 degrees. It's important you get them close, but you don't need a protractor. And we'll drive two more stakes and tie off two more guy wires. The stakes have to be in somewhat solid. And by the way, I have used cement blocks instead of stakes. It's an interesting thing. If you're putting it up on a macadam, they sort of don't like you driving stakes into it. And I mean, I have a hammer that's big enough to do it, but I've been told it's not a wise thing. Okay, we'll tie that one off, and then we'll go over and tie off the third one. Okay. I usually lay something down the wrong place and pick it up. Again, space them out about 120 degrees, but you don't have to be super accurate. If you get too far off, it'll fall down and then you'll know you've done it wrong. Again, tie off the last one. Now, when I finish tying this one off, I'm going to go to the end of the pole that the guy wires are on. I'm going to advance it away from these two stakes that I just put in. Yeah, drop the hammer, you don't need that. And I checked that other guy wire. I wasn't 100% sure that I had it tied at the right place. And we walk the thing up using the guy wires behind us. We actually use this thing as sort of like a gin pole. Now I had these cords tied a little bit tight, and I wasn't sure at the time I was going to be able to get it vertical, that I might have to go back and loosen a guy wire. But there it is. Now I typically will tie the base of that to the stake, or put a second stake in and tie it to two of them to be sure that it's tied down. We've got it up, and it's in less than 8 minutes. Now we're going to take it back down. This, you have to let the guy wires behind you hold it up and walk towards the center of the pole. I didn't do it quite right, so I sort of got a drop, but if you after you do it a couple times, it gets better. And I haven't done this for over a year. There we are. You kick the stakes a couple times and take them out. And hopefully everybody's happy. Tramp on the hole, put the divot back in. I wanted to show you the top. It's a hose clamp from Lowe's, a couple of chain links. I couldn't find any good thing to tie the paracord off, so I cut a couple of chain links apart. This is paracord. I like either red paracord or a very bright yellow rope that I use on the other ones. I want something that people don't walk into. It's amazing how they can do that. I'm showing this not to tell you how to do it, but to maybe spark some thought and some ingenuity. I would also at times put hose clamps on the base and the top where they go together if I see any kind of cracking or anything that might weaken. I've also done this whenever I'm using them as end poles for a wire antenna. I need the extra strength. When you do that, the single guy wire should be directly opposed to the wire. I use this. I also have a foot that I drive on my car, screw a piece of pipe in it, and I can set 4 of these. I have not been able to set the 5th one without difficulty. That gets me about 18 feet, and I have a Slim Jim inside a thin wall PVC radome that works real nice on the top of it. Hope this helps somebody. This is K3HQI. Thank you for watching.